And my apologies, I'll just move away from you for a second to just listen to Donald Trump speaking earlier.
It's blasted. This is like a demolition site. Almost the entire site is. So you have to get rid of what you have there. You have structures that are very dangerous. They're falling down. If they haven't fallen, they're going to fall down of their own volition. So that process, Peter, is going to start pretty much immediately.
What will it look like a year from now, in your view?
Well, a year, that's very quick. But over the years, it'll look very good. It'll be, it's got the first chance it's had in centuries of being peaceful. It's always been a very, very strange area. It's always been loaded up with problems, religious problems, problems like no other place probably in the world. And I think it's going to normalize. So all you can say, if it normalizes, that would be fantastic.
Government structure, sir, that you have set up in that peace plan, how soon will that new governing body be in place?
Very quickly. And everybody wants to be a part of it. You're talking about the Board of Peace?
That's right.
Everybody wants to be a part of it. I've had calls from all of the leaders of countries. They all want to be a part. I mean, the leaders themselves, they're not going to send somebody. They want to be a part of it.
Do you know who's going to be a part of it?
I do.
Can you share?
No, not yet. Absolutely.
Tony Blair. Have you spoken to Tony Blair about it since the? Have you spoken to Tony Blair about it?
Yeah, but at first I want to find out that Tony would be popular with all, because I just don't know that. And I like Tony. I've always liked Tony, but I want to find out that he's an acceptable choice to everybody.
What guarantees have you been able to give to both the Israelis and the Arab countries? The Israelis are very...
And we have a lot of verbal guarantees too. And I don't think they're going to want to disappoint me. I have a lot of verbal guarantees that aren't down in writing, but they were given to me, and I believe they're going to be held very strongly. That's why I think it's going to be successful.
Hi, good to see you. Good to see you, Mr. President. Thank you. Good to see you. I'm sure you've seen reports of Hamas rearming, instituting themselves as a Palestinian police force, shooting rivals. What is your message?
Where they are standing, because they do want to stop the problems, and they've been open about it, and we gave them approval for a period of time. You have to understand, they've lost probably 60,000 people. That's a lot of retribution. They've lost 60,000 people, and the ones that are living right now were, in many cases, very young when this all started. And we are having them watch that there's not going to be big crime or some of the problems that you have when you have areas like this that have been literally demolished. You have 2 million people, and probably it'll be less than that, but you have close to 2 million people going back to buildings that have been demolished. And a lot of bad things can happen. So we want it to be safe. I think it's going to be fine.
Mr. President,
who knows for sure, Katie? But I think it's going to be fine.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Hi. What is the latest that you've heard about the hostages, when they will be released? Do you expect to meet with any of them?
The hostages might be even a little early, but I don't want to say that. So they have the hostages. I understand all 20, and we may get them out a little bit early. Getting them was amazing, actually, because we were involved, and they were in places that you don't want to know about. Deep.
Some of the top Biden administration folks who were there, like Antony Blinken, seem to want some credit for the peace deal. Blinken says it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan that the Biden administration developed. What do you think about that?
Everybody knows it's a joke. Look, they did such a bad job. This should have never happened. This wouldn't have even happened. That was weak leadership, terrible. And the same thing with Russia, Ukraine. If just a decent president, not a great president like me, not a great president. If a decent president was in, you wouldn't have had the Russia-Ukraine. And this is, I would say, even more so. This was bad policy by Biden and by Obama. Remember when Bibi came and he begged that you not do what they were doing with Iran? You remember that, right? Begged them. And they wouldn't even listen to him. Everything they did was the opposite of what you should have done. And it's nice that they try and take a little credit. That was years ago, and the mistakes were made years ago. and it was both by Biden and Obama.
And so what did you do so differently? Because I know a lot of it was behind the scenes. So what did you do so much differently than Joe Biden and to end the war?
I resonated with the Arab leaders, the Muslim leaders, and the Jewish leaders. For whatever reason, you tell me why. You know, he said that in my first news conference, I answered more questions of him than Biden did in 4 years. And I think that's pretty close to being true.
No, there were no Pinocchios in the fact check.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. President, your relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu has been through some ups and downs. You had to get a little tough on him. Where is that relationship now, and can you tell us about it?
Very good. He just put me up for the Nobel Prize. So, you know, I don't know what it means with the Nobel Prize, but he put me up yesterday for the Nobel Prize that I should get it. So, I mean, I think it's very good.
Has he made commitments to you personally about moving forward to the next phase of peace?
Look, let me tell you, he's a wartime president. He did a very good job. I had some disputes with him, and they were quickly settled. I can tell you that. But as far as I'm concerned, I think he's done a great job. I think he was the right person at this time. You know, look, it's been this way for centuries. You know, we're not talking about for 10 years, for 5. It's been this way for centuries. And he did a great job. And working with me, he was fantastic. Now, working with Biden, no good. They didn't get along, and they had the opposite, because Biden and Obama backed Iran. And just so when you talk about a thing like that, if you think they were backing Iran, when you back Iran, this wouldn't have worked. And had we not taken out the Iran nuclear facility and we made the same deal, it would have a really dark cloud over it, and you wouldn't have people dancing in the streets, Katie. You would have people saying, oh, my, you know, you're making a deal, but we have a guy over there with nuclear weapons all over the place. He's going to knock the hell out of us. If we didn't take out the Iran nuclear when we did, because in 2 months they would have had a nuclear weapon, this deal, even if it were done the exact same way, would have had a dark cloud over it. And now there's no dark clouds. There's nobody they have to worry about, Katie.
Have you talked to the Qataris about their changing behavior in your first term? You talked about how they were funding terrorism. What are they doing differently?
Yeah.
What are they doing differently in your eyes?
The Qataris really helped us with this deal. And the Emir is an amazing man who really helped us. You have to understand, his country is right in the middle of everything, more so than any other country, more so than UAE, where you have to fly an hour and a half to get there, more so than Saudi Arabia, where you have to fly an hour and a half to get there. His country, you walk across a line and you're there. So he's in the middle of this unbelievable hostile territory with people on all different sides of the, you know, of the opinion and the question. They were a tremendous help. Qatar was a tremendous help to getting this done. I hope people can realize that.
Mr. President,
And it was very tough and very dangerous for Qatar. They were very brave, and their leader, the Emir, was very, very brave. And Qatar should start getting some credit. And you have to understand, they lived in the middle of everything. So they can't just be like, you couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Say what?
Have they changed their behavior from 2017 when you accused them of funding terrorism?
I don't know. In 2017, I didn't really know them very well. You know, 2017, that was at the very beginning of my term. As I got to know them, I got to understand them, and I got to realize that they are right in the middle of everything. Other countries are there, but they're an hour and a half away. A big difference. They're literally, you walk over from Iran to Qatar. You can walk it in 1 second. You go boom, boom, and now you're in Qatar. That's tough territory. I think Qatar was amazing the way they helped us.
Mr. President, another
Where do you think there was a ceasefire that collapsed in March this year? There was a ceasefire earlier this year that collapsed in March. Do you think this could have been done then? This took a lot of pressure on both sides. But do you have any regrets?
I see it, and I see it with Russia too. Sometimes you have to go through some pain before it all happens. I saw it with Turkey, and by the way, Turkey was fantastic too. President Erdogan was fantastic. He really helped a lot. because he's very respected. He's got a very powerful nation. He's got a very, very powerful military, and he helped a lot, President Erdogan. UAE was great. We mentioned Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the king, they were great. Indonesia was great. We had tremendous help. Jordan, the king, they were great. This is an amazing thing. Countries that, very diverse countries, some got along, some didn't, but for the most part, nobody got along with anybody, and they all came together, and they're all dancing in the streets, just like Israel. It's a unique point in time. You were talking about the ceasefire. That wouldn't have had that held. That wouldn't have happened back then.
Why not?
Both of your elections, the biggest issues were the economy and immigration. Now you're getting credit from Democrats and Republicans for this Middle East peace deal. Where does it fit? Where do you think it fits into your legacy?
Well, look, this will be my 8th war that I've solved. And I hear there's a war now going between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I said, I'll have to wait till I get back. I'm doing another one because I'm good at solving wars. I'm good at making peace. And it's an honor to do it. I saved millions of lives. Millions of lives. Now, in all fairness to the Nobel Committee, it was for 2024. And it was picked for 2024. But there are those that say you can make an exception because a lot of things happened during 25 that are done and complete and great. But I did this not for Nobel. I did this for saving lives. I mean, we've saved millions of lives. Think about India, Pakistan. Think about some of the wars that were going on for years. We had one going for 31, one going for 32, one going for 37 years, with millions of people being killed in every country. And I got every one of those done, for the most part, within a day. It's pretty good.
One of the world leaders said that
What do you think you can take from these negotiations and this peace process into Moscow and try to end the Russia-Ukraine?
Well, I think what you can take is that never give up. Just never give up. Last week they killed over 7,000 soldiers, mostly soldiers. And a little bit more, frankly, Russian soldiers than Ukraine soldiers last week. But think of it, every week they're losing from 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers. It's ridiculous. And I thought that would be one of my easier ones. I mean, when you settle something that's been going on for 31 and 32 years, that's, in theory, a lot harder than setting, something that's been going on for 3 years. But this is a war going on for 3 years, should have never started. Frankly, I give Ukraine credit for doing so well. I mean, they're good fighters. They're very good fighters. I really think that President Putin would look great if he got this settled. And I think he's going to settle it, but we're going to see. And if he doesn't, it's not going to be good for him.
President Xi of China, you've been truthing about another world leader. You said not to worry about China, but he's been putting out some tough statements in regards to your tariffs, sir. Are you planning to speak with him? When's the last time you spoke?
Well, he's putting out tough statements because we are taking in hundreds of millions of dollars, not only from China, from other countries. We've become a wealthy country again, and the tariffs have given us a diplomatic strength. They've given us negotiating strength. I settled a few of the wars just based on tariffs. I said, as an example, with India and with Pakistan, I said, if you guys want to fight a war and you have nuclear weapons.
So that's the U.S. president. He was speaking just a short time ago when he was still on Air Force One. He's now, of course, landed at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, and he's taking questions from the reporters on board with him. And he said that the U.S. He said that everybody wants to be a part of peace. He, of course, is on his way. He's landed in Israel, and then he's on his way to Egypt, to Sharm el-Sheikh, to participate in what he describes as a peace summit. He was also asked about the future of Gaza, and he said, "I don't know about the Gaza Riviera. You have people to take care of first." We'll bring in Alan Fisher joining us from Washington, D.C. So, Alan, a wide-ranging sort of interview he's giving to reporters, right? He said a lot. Let's just unpack it. What do you think is the takeaway message when it comes to Gaza and what's happening right now?
Well, interesting that the words that were being used were legacy, peace, happiness, and historic. And Donald Trump thinks that this is all of those things. And he, of course, is right. He paid tribute to the countries that were involved in negotiating this deal. You remember that it really all kind of came together in the middle of last month during the United Nations General Assembly. Donald Trump had a meeting with Arab and Muslim nations. He described it as he went into that meeting as perhaps the most important meeting he will ever have. At that meeting, they formed the basis of the 20-point peace plan and the initial plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. That was then presented to Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on the 29th of September. It was presented to the world as well, presented almost as a take it or leave it to Hamas. But Hamas then said, look, there are things here we can work with, and through their mediators passed that message back to Donald Trump, who'd said that they had to decide within 3 days. The discussions then get underway in Egypt exactly 1 week ago, and we have this deal. Given that the war had been raging for 2 years, it shows the pressure that Donald Trump put on people to come up with a deal. And of course, many in those in the Middle East who were key in drawing up some of the points in this plan were happy to let Donald Trump take the credit. So Donald Trump is arriving in Israel, and he'll be in Sharm el-Sheikh, and he knows that what he's going to get for the next 7-8 hours while he's on the ground in the Middle East are a lot of handshakes, a lot of pats on the back, a lot of well dones, and of course people talking about how Donald Trump should be nominated for next year's Nobel Peace Prize, which he mentioned during that interview. And we know from his personal lobbying that's something that he is very keen to receive.
Okay, Alan, thank you so much for the time being.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.